Okay, this is Food Chemistry Unit 3. It's our second discussion of lipids. So I wanted to start with some physical characteristics of lipids. So one characteristic is their tendency to deteriorate. So we like to talk about what's called autooxidation. So oxidation kind of sounds like oxygen, right? So this is an exposure to oxygen that will cause lipids to deteriorate. What happens is that new compounds will be formed and make a rancid flavor along with color changes. So that's like a type of spoilage. If water is added to lipids, fats will break apart and become rancid like butter. So again, that's a type of spoilage. Vacuum sealing is a good way to reduce this. So you can actually get vacuum sealers and do this yourself, but probably just when you buy, especially like your meats here, you want to make sure that they're sealed pretty well. If they're not vacuum sealed, then you need to use that meat pretty quickly, otherwise it will start to break down. All right, food preparation. So why do people add lipids when they're preparing foods? Well, first of all, they transfer heat. So unlike water, which boils at 100 degrees and never becomes hotter, lipids will rise in temperature until a smoke point is reached. So what is a smoke point? So what happens is a lipid will eventually break apart and start smoking. So once that oil smokes, you don't want to use it anymore. You have to discard it because it's going to have an undesirable flavor and that will seep into your food. So you can heat that lipid and use it until it starts to smoke. So when it reaches that smoke point, you got to stop using it. So lard is a really good fat for deep frying. The smoke point is perfect. It's 185 degrees, but you can only use it for a short period of time. So if you've ever watched a show like Chopped and watched them use the deep fryer, some issues often happen. So if you put food into a deep fryer and the temperature is not hot enough, the food will not cook all the way through. The oil just leaks into the food and it's a greasy mess. If the temperature is too hot, so what that means is it's only gonna cook the outside of the food, which is actually just gonna burn to a crisp, and then the inside is left raw. Lipids are used for tenderizing. So the original fat for baking was a solid white fat called shortening. It's actually like Crisco in stores if you use that. So why was it called shortening? Well, it would shorten the protein fibers in flour that are often tough to chew. So the fat would coat the flour and make it softer. It would shorten the fibers. That's why it's called shortening. Get it? Lipids are good for aeration. They will add air into a batter. Saturated fats allow this to occur. Usually for your cake batters, right? You'll add margarine or butter and mix it like with an electric mixer right into the batter. Why do you do this? It creates more volume or a fluffier cake. Lipids are good flavor enhancers. Just look at butter, bacon fat, olive oil, great flavors. Vegetables are often cooked in oil to start sauces. The oil dissolves and spreads the flavors of the vegetables. The same is true for a gravy. Usually gravies start after meat is cooked. You take the meat out of the pan, use all those flavors that came out of the meat along with the oil that you cooked it in, and it starts the gravy. Lipids tend to moisten food because they have a greasy texture, like butter, margarine, mayonnaise. These are popular spreads for breads or dinner rolls. Liquids in emulsions. You can often add something like a phospholipid, we talked about this earlier, to an emulsion. And an emulsion is a water and lipid mixture like mayonnaise, butter, milk, bottled salad dressings, right? So like your salad dressings, you often have to shake them. Mayonnaise, you may have to mix it around before you spread it because oil and water don't like each other. So if you add a phospholipid, it would reduce that separation just a little bit. All right, now your diet, okay? Lipids in the diet. They are a source of energy. The problem is they give you 9 calories for every gram that you eat, which is more than twice that of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are only 4 calories per gram. 4 times 2 is 8, right? Which would be double that. Lipids are 9, so more than twice that of carbohydrates. They take longer to digest. They make you feel full longer. They're a steady supply of energy between meals. They do help with cell production, which is why a diet totally fat-free is not good. They protect your organs from injury. The fat under your skin, known as cellulite, creates insulation and reserve energy. So you do need some fat under your skin, just not too much. Then that just leads to unhealthiness, right? And they do help maintain your body temperature. Okay, now there's some fatty acids that are considered essential, and then there's some that are essential, but your body cannot produce them. So there's two that the body cannot produce. They are pronounced linoleic and linolenic acids. These are the only two the body cannot make. They are polyunsaturated, so some double bonds, and they are in most plant and fish oils, and you need these for your growth and development. But if they're in most plant and fish oils, you're probably eating these in your diet without even thinking about them. So linolenic would be found in corn, cottonseed, soybean oils, and chicken. Linolenic would be in canola, soybean, walnuts, and fish. Omega-3 fatty acids are good for you. The main source is fish. What they do for you that's so good is they will help lower your triglyceride levels in the blood. They'll slow the growth of plaque in your arteries, and we'll talk about that next. They strengthen brain cell membranes. They may reduce joint inflammation, prevent heart irregularities, reduce mental decline. And again, this is based on research. This is not, like a cure-all for everybody, but there's just been some research that omega-3 fatty acids do help with these instances in the body. Some sources include albacore tuna, salmon, lake trout, sardines, canola oil, flaxseed, and walnuts. And if you don't know what a flaxseed is, you can get these in your spice section. I've actually added these to chocolate chip cookies, so they're a little seed, and they're good, just my opinion. All right, so we're going to end our discussion of lipids with cholesterol, and I will put this very short video up in Schoology if you'd like to watch it, because cholesterol is what I think you've probably heard of the most. So let's break this topic down and make sure you understand it well. So cholesterol really does do some good things in the body. It does build your cell membranes, and it would help solidify the cell walls in plants. The body, though, can change your fat into cholesterol, and too much of this causes the problem. So if you've got too much cholesterol in your blood, what this can do is create plaque or deposits of fat on your artery walls, and your artery walls are in your heart. So this would reduce the elasticity of your artery walls, which results in atherosclerosis or hardening of the arteries. You don't want the arteries to be hard because your blood is pumping through there, and you need that blood to be pumped through there for all functions in the body. So if the arteries do harden, the heart has to work harder, blood pressure climbs, and this can lead to heart attacks and stroke. So how can you manage this? Okay, well, your body has something called lipoproteins. These transport cholesterol in the blood. They're clusters of lipids and protein molecules. Okay, so your cholesterol is moving around in your blood. So if you get a cholesterol test, they'll take your blood and they're going to look for two things, your LDL and your HDL. Now your LDL is the bad cholesterol. That's your low density lipoproteins. So these are carried from the liver, and it's just your basic level of cholesterol in the body. Okay, your HDL is your high density lipoprotein, which finds unneeded cholesterol and takes it back to the liver, so out of your bloodstream. So this is considered the good cholesterol. But what your body needs is a good balance of LDL and HDL. They need to work together to keep your cholesterol in balance. So if you've got too much or too little of either of these, that's where the problems start. So too much LDL will clog the arteries. High HDL protects against heart attacks. Okay, so your LDL level should be less than 100 milligrams per deciliter. Your HDL should be greater than 40 milligrams per deciliter. Now, those numbers aren't going to mean anything to you unless you actually have a test and can check your own levels against those. Okay? But the big problem is having too high of an LDL level. So if you keep a balanced diet with exercise and a healthy weight, you should be in pretty good shape. Some oils are considered cholesterol-free, but really they all are, because cholesterol is really only in animal sources like your meats, your dairy, and your egg yolks. You're not going to find them in your oils. Foods can be considered cholesterol-free, but they're often high in fat, right, to keep the flavor. Foods high in fiber can actually help trap your dietary cholesterol and bring that down. So it's just a question of how well you control your diet, and you just need to know if you actually have a problem or not. Okay, so that's cholesterol explained.